John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on July the 25th in the year of our Lord 2025. And as usual, I got a lot of great information for you tonight. Let's go ahead and click Murtech on Rumble. Go over to my Rumble channel. Okay, and this is the video you're watching right now, my live stream, episode 1634. Let's go ahead and get into this. Alrighty, the video you're watching, pause that, close the live chat, slide down here and open the description box by clicking this show more. And there we have it. We have information from ACLJ Sekulow, Robert Gouveia, Jimmy Dore show, and Devory Darkins. But before we get into that, let's come down here and give a shout out to Boink Mess. Just started following my channel. Okay, Pusha commented on my extra 417A. Fisher C45 reposted my episode 1633. Angel Decker Kory commented on my extra 117A. Now, this is amazing because this was like 11 months ago, 8/25 in 2024. Now, I'm not sure how Angel Decker Kory came up with this video. I mean, I have hundreds of videos that I've created since then. So why Angel Decker Kory picked this one to comment on, I'm not sure. But thank you very much for your comment. This might be because Rumble is starting to promote my videos more because I've reached my limit on requirements for this month for them. They're supposed to help get my information out. So great for all things. All right, Foxy Grandma commented on my extra 419C. Conservancy, Birdie 71, and Debbie BS commented on my episode 1633. So thank you very much for your comments. Thank you for reposting my videos. I really appreciate that. Let me give this a thumbs up. Boom. There it is. That's how easy it is, folks. Okay, and this is the video you're watching. If you just slide down here, I got one of those thumbs up buttons right here. If you could click on that, that would definitely help me out too in promoting this video. Okay, ACLJ Sekulow, Trump admin unleashes legal strike force. That sounds interesting. Let's see what that's all about. Get it back to the beginning for you.
Justice Department announced this morning the formation of a strike force that will be assessing all of the evidence that was publicized by Tulsi Gabbard and the ODNI. So that is the breaking news that's coming out of there. If you want to know what a strike force is, well, my dad was part of one, so you're going to hear that coming up.
So the Office of the Attorney General and the Department of Justice put out an actual press release about this. So this isn't just reported anonymous sources, anything like that, that they have formed a strike force to assess evidence publicized by the ODNI, Office of Director of National Intelligence. And there's this quote from Attorney General Pam Bondi that says, "The Department of Justice is proud to work with my friend Director Gabbard, and we are grateful for her partnership in delivering accountability for the American people. We will investigate these troubling disclosures fully and leave no stone unturned to deliver justice." For many people, this term strike force is something new, something that you don't hear about that often. But that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have your dad on, because he has direct experience with strike forces in the DOJ and what that means, what they're capable of. So I want to go right to you. What is this strike force that is being assembled within the DOJ?
So first of all, let me tell you what it's not. It's not a special counsel. It's not a group of lawyers that the Department of Justice sequesters into their own area, and their reporting is different. This is within the Justice Department. And strike forces and task force are used by the Department of Justice when there has been credible evidence of wrongdoing at a nature and scope that the Attorney General determines there needs to be a dedicated team. It could be multiple offices. It will be. It could be multiple agencies. It'll be in cooperation, as Pam Bondi has said, and as Tulsi has said. Pam and Tulsi have both said that they will be working together. So it'll be a multi-governmental agency group, multi-attorneys within the Department of Justice. They do sometimes bring in outside lawyers. I worked on, after 9/11, some of the legal work that needed to take place for information sharing and information gathering to prevent the terrorist attacks. And we had a special task force, strike force set for that. It was done to get legislation through. So these entities, under the authority of the Attorney General, are dedicated to this one specific task. And this is a big task because the weaponization of the Department of Justice and I've been saying the Brennan, Clapper, Comey issues have been real for a long time. I think we need to know exactly what happened, and this will do that. But it's an interagency. Sometimes outside lawyers come in and consult with the Department of Justice. I actually, after Logan, you called me on it, and asked about it. I remember also I was on one for John Ashcroft in a separate matter, and that was we had a task force set up to go after child sex trafficking and pornography. And I mean, it went to the point where I actually went to the United States Attorney General's Training Center at the University of South Carolina and lectured to U.S. attorneys from all over the country, actually U.S. attorneys that were stationed all over the world, on the sex trafficking and the issue of child pornography and child obscenity. So these are not unusual, but they're very dedicated and very specific in their orientation and to what the goal is.
And when you look at the fact that the DOJ is taking these steps, it's not just being assigned to one U.S. attorney's office to look at and see if there's anything there. It shows there is positive movement for those of us that want to see accountability, that want to see some sort of real justice from what was perpetrated on this country almost how many years ago? 8 years ago now, almost 10 years ago in some cases. But when you have to look at this and also think that there are limitations with what we've talked about on the show. The President Obama obviously is being brought up a lot with this. There is a recent immunity ruling, but this does bring up that there could be real accountability for these individuals that were perpetrating this against the United States. But I want to get your take on what some realistic expectations of an outcome, not prejudging the team's work, but what we could be looking at from the DOJ with something like this.
Well, there's two things that we need to know from the outset. Number one, and this is important to understand, rather than having a U.S. Attorney's Office deal with this, where they have 50, 60, 150, 200 other cases, these are lawyers that will be handpicked within the Department of Justice to focus on this activity. It is the Department of Justice, so they have full subpoena power, indictments. All of that can happen. Now, I want to say something about the president's situation as it relates to President Obama. Remember, it was President Trump. We were involved in it. We went to the Supreme Court of the United States to argue immunity for presidents when they're involving official acts. And the court ruled totally in our favor. And so I think tagging President Obama on this is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, Dad, that's one of the questions that a lot of people seem to have is you put Barack Obama on this, you start using words like treason, you start using these kind of phrases, and you start thinking, okay, are they reaching too far? Now, yesterday when some people called in, I said, yeah, I don't think anything's going to happen. You have presidential immunity now. I don't think also you're going to have anything happen to President Obama. It feels like a kind of, maybe he's a fringe character in this, but could be. But now they're putting together this strike force. It certainly seems like they're taking it a step further and much quicker than I anticipated.
Yes, and you're exactly correct, Logan. And that is the strike force is dedicated to finding justice, which means they will subpoena, they will review documents, I'm sure they will. They'll impanel a grand jury dedicated to this. They can do that as well. So this is when they say strike force, think about it in the context of military. It's an operation dedicated to one task. Taking President Obama out of it, because that raises a whole host of constitutional issues that affect the presidency. But the others, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, others, they don't have that immunity. So if there is culpability and criminal liability, they can be held accountable for what has happened. It will not just be a special counsel report. They can take direct action here.
Many of these agencies, news organizations, don't want you to know the truth. They want to protect you from the truth. as they see it. Now, let's go ahead and play. This is how CNN was covering the daily press briefing from the White House, where it was a big surprise moment. The director of national intelligence was speaking from the podium. That's normally a let's tune into this. But as soon as she started, maybe throwing some things out there, reading from the intelligence they've given to the Department of Justice, which implicated some of CNN's favorite people. Some of them, I think, have been employed by CNN as commentators. So here's how they decided to handle when she got to the podium. Let's run bite 6. And if you're watching, you'll be able to really see the full measure of them trying to protect the people from the truth.
Multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the U.S. election. On December 5th,
we've been listening there to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, continuing on what has now been a multi-day effort, not only with public statements like this, but release of documents to attempt to back up the quite extreme allegation that President Obama is guilty of treason and that he worked in some sort
that
of...
That is CNN deciding, you know what, we don't like what she's saying. And look, we've seen this multiple times with a lot of networks, including, remember, George Stephanopoulos, my dad was speaking, doing the famous, kill sign, to get off of him. Because when they don't like what's being said, it's not for you to decide whether you agree with them or disagree with them. It's for them to decide. And they won't even give Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, give her a few minutes to speak what she is saying, to not only put out all these documents, but then go, here's the real answer. President Obama wants to respond? Well, here's my response to that. We are so excited to announce the ACLJ.
All right, there you have it, folks. Let me go ahead and click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from American Center for Law and Justice. I'm following the channel. I've given them a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. But it's, this strike force thing, I think, is a good deal. Now, if they have grand juries, those are pretty much secret, okay? And we won't know anything until that happens and it's over. I mean, that could be a month, 2 months from now. Who the hell knows? I mean, the justice system, unless it's Democrats going after a Republican, moves so freaking slow, it's unbelievable. So don't hold your breath, okay? For anything to happen. It may not happen until 2026, and all this stuff might be coming out, just a month or two before midterms, which wouldn't be a bad thing as long as it actually comes out. I mean, that's the deal, right? I'm so tired of all talk and no action, which is what we've always seemed to go through, unless, of course, it's Democrats going after Republicans. Then, of course, everything moves just fine. Unbelievable. Okay, let's get back here and see what else we have. Got some great information from Robert Gouveia. Senators demand prosecution of Obama officials. Okay, well, I think most of us do, but is that going to happen? They're probably just talking out of their ass, just, making publicity points or whatever, but let's see what this is all about. It's always been back to the beginning for you. Robert Gouveia normally has great information.
These people that are careers over at the FBI and the DOJ that have participated in this need to be shown the door.
The idea that she would use this discussion around sourcing and intents of Russians as some sort of springboard for charges against Barack Obama or John Brennan or Jim Comey or anyone else is absurd.
What would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
well, first I want to correct something that you stated, which was...
That's from Caitlin Collins to the Director of National Intelligence. Wild. Congress reacting to Tulsi Gabbard's latest motherlode drops. We got Marsha Blackburn posting this one saying, "Thank you, Tulsi Gabbard. We now have proof that Obama and his officials manufactured the Russian collusion hoax. This is why draining the swamp is more important than ever, and we better see some draining. We don't want to see talking, bloviating about this." Here is Marsha.
That's right. Now we do know, and thank goodness that DNI Gabbard released 100 documents so that people can see, here's the proof. This is what they were doing. They knew Hillary was creating this dossier. So then they go in and Obama's team is all informed. And then they start to create a diversion and they try to make it about Trump. Here is what we know. The bureaucracy and the swamp has got to be drained. These people that are careers over at the FBI and the DOJ that have participated in this need to be shown the door. There are prosecutions
and the prison
that should
cell
take place. This is weaponizing the federal government against a citizen, against a political opponent, because the American people are not doing what you want them to do. This is the kind of thing that we thought was going on. We had some pretty good ideas it was going on, some pretty good anecdotal evidence it was happening, and now they have shown the receipts. Let the prosecutions begin.
Let them begin. Thank you, Marcia. I hope that the Senate continues to push for this because we want justice. Now, Mike Pompeo, who ran the CIA before, who could have given us a lot of this information that John Brennan is a lying hack, didn't. Now he's out with the statement, and here is what he said. The notion that Trump colluded with Russia has always been false, and the politicization of our intelligence services in the service of that hoax did enormous damage to public trust. Like, weren't you in that office, Mike? Where were you?
If you're Vladimir Putin, would you rather have Joe Biden or Donald Trump as the president of the United States? The answer is really easy. You invaded Ukraine when President Biden was there. You invaded Ukraine when President Obama was there. You didn't touch the darn thing when President Trump was there. I think it actually proves itself. But if you want to get even deeper about the things we did in the first Trump administration, we provided defensive weapon systems to Ukraine. Obama refused. Biden didn't want to do it. We made energy prices low by building here, drilling here. That hurt Putin dramatically. We put enormous number of sanctions on the Russian regime, real deterrence. And I am confident that the second version of Trump, the second term of President Trump, will do precisely the same. This narrative that somehow President Trump or Donald Trump was a Russian asset or connected to Putin or that Putin had some goods on him has always been false. It's always been known to be false, and yet was distributed by the mainstream media and by a White House that was determined to push back against the lost election.
Yeah, and Mike, you guys could have released that back when you actually came in there. Okay, Brennan left, you came in, you didn't give us any materials, and now you're still shilling for Ukraine. Give me a break. All right, so we got that. Now, Jim Jordan was also out today. He was reacting to some of this over on with the folks at Fox, and here's what Jim Jordan had to say after the Tulsi Gabbard announcement.
It looks like they altered what the intelligence community assessment originally was. Remember, they had the meeting in the White House on December 9th. You got all the key players there. You got McCabe, you got Brennan, you got Clapper, you got the president, you got Loretta Lynch, you got all the key players there. And they say, time out, we're going to manufacture and massage the existing intelligence community assessment and make it what Director of National Intelligence Gabbard just talked about. So they manufactured and massaged the document, and then look at what happened next. A few weeks later, they go to Trump Tower. I think this is so critical because they tried to undermine the election. That didn't work with the dossier and everything else, spying on President Trump's campaign. We know that took place. That didn't work. So they said, now we're going to undermine his presidency. They go to Trump Tower on January 6th to brief President-elect. January 6, 2017, President-elect Trump. President-elect Trump thinks this is the normal briefing the incoming president's going to get from the intelligence community, but it's not, Martha. It's a setup. And they brief him on the dossier. That then gets leaked to the press and thereby giving credibility to a document they already knew was bogus. They do all that to undermine the presidency. And of course, that launches the Mueller investigation and everything else they did. So when you match what Tulsi Gabbard has brought forward with actual events that take place, December 9th meeting in the White House, January 6, 2017 meeting in Trump Tower where they brief him on the dossier, you match it all up, I think it clearly shows they were trying to undermine the president. And of course, that's why Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has referred this to the Department of Justice.
And we hope Pam Bondi does something about it. We know that she created her strike force and is going to be working on catching the ball that Tulsi has thrown her way. Now, this was one guy who was presumably in the room with the rest of the Koosters who got a big fat settlement from the FBI and is like a hero now for libs on MSNBC because they love people who will violate their ethical duties to win for the Democratic Party no matter matter what. He was out, and here is what he said about all this. He sounds a little nervous.
Classified agrees in large part with what we determined, but of course differs on that count. So the idea that she would use this discussion around sourcing and intents of Russians as some sort of springboard for charges against Barack Obama or John Brennan or Jim Comey or anyone else is absurd. And she either knows it's absurd and she's doing it anyway, or the director of national intelligence actually doesn't understand the nuances of intelligence, which should concern a lot of Americans.
That's hilarious, coming from the guy who was a part of the reporting process that we just read about, saying that Tulsi has no intelligence. You guys were the ones using the Steele dossier. Totally ridiculous from him. And Caitlin Collins was also shilling for the standard mainstream media litany here. And here was what the question sounded like when she lobbed it back towards Tulsi and Caroline.
Dr. Gabbard, you referenced the past intelligence reports and assessments on this, including that 2017 one that was signed off, as Ed noted, by every Republican on the Senate intelligence community, including the acting chair of the time, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said in a statement that they did not find any evidence of Russian collusion, but they did find, however, is very troubling, and they found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling.
Okay, meddling, which again is a meaningless word. And a lot of this was the meddling in the context of aspiring to help Trump, and they stole the election to denigrate Hillary. And Trump's election is illegitimate. Hillary even saying she had it stolen from her.
One, are you saying that he's wrong in that statement that he made then? And secondly, what would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
Well, first, I want to correct something that you stated, which
That's from Caitlin Collins to the Director of National Intelligence. Wild.
Was citing the Senate Intelligence Committee's report as being one and the same. I think you said the intelligence community. The Senate Intelligence Committee has a very different function than the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The evidence and the intelligence that has been declassified and released is irrefutable. I'm going to let Caroline speak to Secretary Rubio.
I'll speak to both questions. First, on Secretary Rubio, he put out a statement in 2020 following that Senate Intelligence Committee report, and he said what they found is troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling, which the Director of National Intelligence just confirmed for all of you, that Russia was trying to sow distrust and chaos. But what's the outrage in this that Secretary Rubio did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians, all of these lies that were never true. And he also said at that time, we discovered deeply troubling actions taken by the FBI under Comey, particularly their acceptance and willingness to rely on the Steele dossier without verifying its methodology or sourcing. The Steele dossier that many outlets in this room and as the gospel truth, and it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign. As for your second question, Caitlin, I think who is saying that she would release this to try to boost her standing with the president? Who has said that?
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to Iran. He said she was wrong. He told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room who constantly try to sow distrust and chaos amongst the president's cabinet, and it is not working. I will just answer your question directly. I am with the president of the United States every day. He has the utmost confidence in Director Gabbard. He always has. He continues to, and that is true of his entire cabinet, who is all working as one team to deliver on the promises this president made.
Yeah, so you can take your insulting question, Caitlin, and take it back to CNN. All right, so we also got one more from Ron Johnson. He was out, great senator, and he says there better be some consequences on this. Here is Ron.
The extent that he and top members of his administration interfered in the 2016 election, then later on in the 2020 election, do I need to remind you about the 50 intelligence officials that were pretty well ginned up by members of our former Secretary of State to provide that letter, said that the Hunter laptop had all the earmarks of a Russian information campaign when the FBI had possession of it and knew it was genuine. I want the press to be honest. I want Pulitzer Prizes to be returned. They were either duped or complicit in pushing that false narrative that put America in political turmoil for years. It's continuing to go on, all based on a Hillary Clinton dirty trick, the Steele dossier, that those guys knew was a dirty trick, and yet they used that to gin up the Mueller investigation, impeachments, everything else. Listen, this is, again, election interference, orders of magnitude worse than anything Russia or China ever could hope to achieve. That was orchestrated by President Obama, President Biden, John Brennan, and that whole cast of characters. And again, I've known this. The American people should should have known it, but it was never really covered by the legacy media.
Yeah, and because the intelligence communities covered it up. So there better be some consequences for this. It certainly looks like it is trending that way. We got lots of pressure from Congress. Tulsi's out talking about it. Trump's talking about it from the Oval Office. And the evidence is clear as day. We've read through, I don't know how many pages now, 150 pages of stuff so far, like this week, that we covered that is just exploding day by day. The evidence is going to continue to compound. And as we all know here, no one is above the law, not even Barack Obama.
All right, there we have it.
The global net.
All right. Okay, let me click on this Rumble link here. Okay, and show you that this video is coming from Robert Gouveia. I am following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's get back here. And I've been doing a little chatting here with Debbie BS. At any rate, we've got some more information here. Robert Gouveia always has good stuff. Jimmy Dore. Now, Jimmy Dore, I mean, he was a Democrat. In fact, that comment on extra, 117 was it? That, where is it? Yeah, Angel Decker Kory on episode, my extra 117A. That was some comments from Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore. I shared that back then. I've been sharing his information. And that was what the comment was, is that Jimmy Dore's was Democrat. So I remember when you were a Democrat. Good to see that you've woken up. But Jimmy Dore still is a liberal. He just doesn't believe the lies that the liberals are telling. I mean, he still has liberal tendencies. I don't know if he voted for Trump or if he will ever vote for a Republican, but I do know that he's woken up to the lies. He might not just vote at all. I don't know. But let's click on this and take a listen and see what he has to say.
So Jon Stewart reacted to Stephen Colbert being canceled on CBS. And who's not canceled is Jimmy Dore is coming to Oxnard, California, August 3rd. That's a Sunday. And then we're going to Rutherford, New Jersey, and Manhattan, New York at the Village Underground. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. But here he is. Here's Jon Stewart reacting to that. Jon Stewart is reacting, and it's pretty pathetic in a lot of different ways. So let's play some of it. And let's hope that we don't get... we hope this stays monetized, because a lot of times
Stephen has been canceled for purely financial reasons.
So now because that's what CBS is saying, that they're canceling him because the show's losing tens of millions of dollars. That's what they say.
No, that face he's making, is that the face you make instead of laughing when you watch Colbert?
So but watch how he contradicts himself. I mean, so Jon Stewart's saying that's not true, because that's what that is. I don't think that's true. And watch, he contradicts himself.
And by the way, not just Stephen's show, CBS has canceled the entirety of the Late Show franchise. Gone. Now, I acknowledge, losing money. Late night TV is...
He just said, no, I acknowledge they're losing money.
It's gone now.
What? So you know what you do when you have a show that's losing money? You cancel that show. What's that, Kurt?
It's not PBS.
Yeah, it's not PBS. This is commercial broadcasting. It has to turn a profit. And he's even going to go on to explain to you that, yes, the whole genre is dying. No, watch this.
A struggling financial model. We're all basically operating a Blockbuster kiosk inside of a Tower Records.
So he's admitting that this is a failed platform. This is a failed style of doing comedy. It's over. We are a Blockbuster. What's that?
The election should have told them that their format of liberal boohoos from New York is not working out.
That's the word I was looking for. This format is tired, it's old, and it doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't. Who cares about your suit and your Johnny Carson shit? I mean, I don't care about any of that.
And Stephen Colbert gets less viewers in the demo than this show.
I used to love his show on Comedy Central, dude. I liked it better than Jon Stewart's show by a mile.
Oh, his old show. So what? So he's there. Is at first he's trying to say it's not because of money, but now he's admitting, yeah, let's lose the show. He said, admittedly, it's losing money. That I didn't make that up. I heard him say it, and now he's saying that our format is like a Blockbuster inside of a Tower Records. Those are two companies that don't exist anymore because they. But listen to what he says. Listen to this. It's a good joke.
But when your industry is faced with changes, you don't just call it a day. My God. When CDs stopped selling, they didn't just go, oh, well, music, it's been a good run. The fact that CBS didn't try to save their #1 rated network late night franchise that's been on the air for over 3 decades is part of what's making everybody wonder, was this?
So he's saying, well, when people stopped buying CDs, they didn't just stop trying to sell music. No, when people stop watching that format of comedy, they move on to a new format of comedy.
What are you talking about?
Well, so what? No, so what they're doing is
show.
So Stephen Colbert is the CD in that analogy. Stephen Colbert is the CD. People aren't buying the CDs anymore. You stop producing CDs. People aren't buying that format of Stephen Colbert's comedy. You stop producing that format of comedy. That's so he's cut. So there isn't a logical consistency to what he's saying. He's making.
He just say
he's making what?
He just said it was top rated on.
He
CBS.
said it was the #1 late night show, which I don't think it is.
CBS not closed?
Greg
CBS
Gutfeld
should be gone.
Greg Gutfeld beats all of them, right, Kurt? You know that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not true. He keeps saying the #1 rated. It's Greg Gutfeld destroys them
on their channel. I don't know how it could be that, but what's he #1 rated in? Oh, out of late night?
Well, Greg Gutfeld is late night, right?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. You're right.
Greg Gutfeld, he actually developed a new format. Greg Gutfeld has a new format.
And it's killing.
It's a killer format. It's kill, and he's look. Could you look up Greg Gutfeld's ratings? So, do you see all the mental gymnastics that Jon Stewart's putting himself through to try to defend? And so now he's going to make it out that CBS canceled Stephen Colbert because they're afraid of Trump.
Good.
And that.
Good. I want you to be afraid of him, you scumbag.
Wouldn't be the last time that the broadcasters were afraid of the government. Remember Howard Stern being fined constantly? You remember that? That's why you had to go to satellite radio.
Okay, so I got this. Gutfeld averaged 3.1 million viewers through July 20th compared to 1.9 million for late night with CBS show with Colbert.
So he's getting 50% bigger ratings. Greg Gutfeld.
Jimmy Kimmel gets 1.5 million, and Jimmy Fallon.
So he gets 100% higher ratings than Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel gets 1.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
He gets 3.1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that 100% more?
And Jimmy Fallon's 1.1, and Seth Meyers, your favorite, 751,000.
Seth Meyers is fantastic. Nobody can tell me that. You're going to tell me people don't like bland, boring white guys with no personality, giving them comedy in the late night. That show should be on. Not only should that not be on at late night, that should be on at 6 a.m. That show.
Yeah, it's a real Martha's Vineyard area popular show.
So now Jon Stewart's going to make the case that this is all about Trump and CBS being afraid of Trump,
as they should be. All of you should be afraid. I don't want you not being afraid of Trump, you punks on these channels that did do your job for the last however many years. I wanted Trump to put you in camps, if I'm being honest.
So after every media outlet pushed Russiagate and every lie possible about the lawfare, January 6th, COVID, everything. Okay, here we go. Watch this.
Purely financial? Or maybe the path of least resistance for your $8 billion merger. What's killing?
So he's saying that this isn't fun. Now, after saying it is financial, they're losing money. Now he's saying this is because there's going to be a merger, right? So there's this guy, what is it called? Skynet or whatever. This company is going to acquire Paramount, which owns CBS. So it's, again, instead of taking this as an opportunity to make fun of Bill Clinton and satirize him for consolidating the media with the Telecommunications Act in 1996, which took us from 50 giant media companies down to 6.
Yeah,
that would be what this would be for, right? But instead of doing that, he turns it against Trump, not against Bill Clinton, not haranguing Bill Clinton for the guy who set all this in motion.
Guy.
That he should have
Springsteen Democrat.
Yeah,
the
so
dumbest thing there is. The most.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here, but so CBS and Skynet are going to merge. I wonder if there's any artificial intelligence associated with that. Now, if you've listened to me any time at all, you know how I feel about artificial intelligence. It can be a very good thing as long as it can be controlled. But Skynet, I believe, was something that was talked about, and I'm going to play you a little snippet here in this movie.
There was a nuclear war. A few years from now, all this whole place, everything, it's gone. Just gone. There were survivors. Here, there. Nobody even knew who started it. It was the machines, Sarah.
I don't understand.
Defense network computers. New, powerful, hooked into everything, trusted to run it all. They say it got smart. A new order of intelligence. Then it saw all people as a threat, not just the ones on the other side. Decided our fate in a microsecond. Extermination.
There you have it. There you have it. Skynet. I believe Skynet, in that movie, was in charge of the computers, artificial intelligence. Now, I don't know if they're going to use any artificial intelligence in this merger to make their programming better. And I don't know if there's going to be any artificial intelligence associated with this Golden Dome that Donald Trump talks about. But it's something to think about, folks. Okay, let's continue here. I got that off my chest.
Fake working man, bullshit hackery kind of politics there are besides Bono. The only thing worse is Bono.
So now he's saying that because they want a merger, he's afraid that Trump's White House, which is, I guess, appoints the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, have to approve the merger, which of course they're going to. That's why they're doing it. So it'll make it easier for them to have that merger go through. If they get rid of the Stephen Colbert, which is critical, every goddamn show is critical of Trump. I don't know what to say. That's why it doesn't make sense. So here we go.
Show that rankled a fragile and vengeful president, so insecure, suffering terribly from a case of chronic penis insufficiency.
I mean, it's just, again, it's
like him now.
What's that?
Israel likes Trump now. Israel switched to Trump. So that's why the merger in all the media companies, Jon Stewart, you don't know that the Zionists are backing Trump because he's letting them do their genocide. That's what that's about at the end of the day. He's trying to keep it like it's just about Trump and whatever. We've already learned there's a genocide going on, and their intel thing controls our whole government, John. And I know Jon Stewart has commented on this a little bit, even if he never have the balls to call it out for what it is. He has talked about it a little bit, hasn't he?
Yes, he has talked about a little bit. You're right. So here we go. So here he is doing cheap insults about Trump having a small penis, which I'm not above doing, but I just think it certainly should be beneath him.
I believe CBS lost the benefit of the doubt 2 weeks prior when they sold out their flagship news program to pay an extortion fee to said president.
So he's saying that now he's flat out making the argument that CBS is doing this because they're afraid of Donald Trump. And it's not about that Stephen Colbert, who, by the way, it takes 200 people to produce that show. You know how many people it takes to produce this show? I don't know, 5, 6? I don't know. Maybe when we're at full bore, 7.
Where's the intel people to run the show?
7.
See, this is the other thing.
He has
190
show. What's that?
60 Minutes, the flagship show. Intel propaganda crap. So what happened is a new regime came in, and the problem with aligning with the CIA, such as Colbert does, right?
Yes.
Ooh, shush, Claire Danes, don't bring up the CIA runs your everything. Remember that?
Yes.
So now a new power came in, and John Brennan's out.
Yes.
So now the CIA is going to go with the other administration. That's why you don't get involved with the fucking CIA, asshole.
That's right. So here we go. And he's saying that 60 Minutes, CBS, so Trump sued over them selectively editing Kamala Harris's interview to make her look better. So Trump decided to sue them over that, saying I don't know if he's saying that's election interference or whatever. It certainly was dishonest. We covered it here in real time when it happened. And I think CBS even had to come out and apologize and reveal. Anyway, the point is, Trump already sued ABC and won. They sued ABC when George Snuffleupagus made some salacious accusations against Donald Trump, saying he was convicted in a court of law of grape. I don't want to say the word because I don't want to get this demonetized. And so they had to pay him $15 million. So so ABC already knew they were dead to rights, didn't want to go to court. They paid him. So CBS did the same thing. They're like, you know what? We don't need the bad press of it being revealed what we actually did. So we're going to go ahead and pay. It'd be easier to pay this and get it off instead of going through a very high profile court case that reveals our bad journalism values. That's what CBS decided to do. It was a smart move for CBS to do that. Jon Stewart now says, no, that is proof that this is being done because they're afraid of Donald Trump. And
hey, dummies, the whole news was afraid of the Biden. Remember we had...
they wouldn't tell you Joe Biden was demented for 4 years. You don't think they were afraid of them?
Yeah, but I'm just like, it's a nothing burger that we've been suppressing minor accounts on Twitter.
Yes.
That went against Joe Biden. And NBC was, I mean, like they were all in on it. You don't think that the table's going to turn on you?
So,
especially on a loser like Colbert?
Okay, I'm going to pause that there. So as you can see, he is actually telling the truth. I mean, they know the mainstream media has been lying their asses off, actually for decades. You know, they just caught on to it, these liberals. But it's, you know, now you even have the liberals calling out the liberals. So it's amazing. The tide's turning, just not quick enough as far as I'm concerned, okay? All right, let me click on this Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Jimmy Dore. I am following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and wrap this up with Devory Darkins. He has some great information here. Trump humiliates Jerome Powell in tense moment. Columbia University surrenders. Now, you know, I've talked about this yesterday, and Donald Trump goes and visits Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, and here again, the Federal Reserve is neither federal, has nothing to do with the federal government as far as control one way or the other, and has no reserves. But it's a fancy sounding name, the Federal Reserve. They have no reserves. Okay? This was created back in 1913 when they signed the bill over on Christmas Eve on some island. Forget the name of the island. But there were like, you know, just a few senators and the president, and they signed this on Christmas Eve in 1913. That was Woodrow Wilson, incidentally, a Democrat. And he happened to be the one to get us in World War I. And the Federal Reserve was created to control our monetary situation, to prevent the ups and downs. And then, of course, just a few years after that, about 15 years, came the Great Depression. So, yeah, that worked out well. Okay. But let me let Devory Darkins do the talking, okay? Let me go ahead and share his screen here. Boom. Here we go. Get your...
Oh, Brianna, they're hoping to see exactly what a $2.5 billion renovation looks like, and we can show you what that looks like firsthand. I'm going to step out of the shot here for a second, and our photojournalist Jake Shire is going to zoom in. This is a live picture of the Federal Reserve. This is the main Eccles building of the Federal Reserve. There's another building right next to it called the 1951 building that is also being renovated, but here you see it. You see the scaffolding. You see the tarps on the right-hand side of the main entrance there. You see the blue skin waterproof coverings on the windows and just a lot of cranes. There's two massive cranes on this building, but we can also show you some special video that we were able to shoot earlier today with a special media tour of the building. The media was able to see where construction workers could usually go, and no one else could see it until today. We saw workers in hazmat suits navigating the interior. We saw stone cladding going on, that stone being placed on the framework of some areas of the building on the exteriors and the interiors.
Okay, let's just stop for a second here before we go any further. Can you please answer this question in the comment section? How is it $2.5 billion? I mean, again, it's like as if we're building a NFL stadium. Oh, no, we're not doing that. We're just renovating a 100-year-old federal building. Where does the money come from? Why is it $2.5 billion? I'm not understanding that.
We also saw an image of the original skylight above the main entrance of the building. That is also being restored. What I can tell you, Brianna, from federal officials who took the media through this tour earlier today is some new information. Federal officials telling us that they're installing blast-resistant windows on this building as part of an upgrading of security features here. That is driving the costs of this renovation up. In addition, a new feature, security-related, progressive collapse measures to prevent the building from collapsing all at once.
Can you see the bias in what they were saying? I mean, the way he was describing the building was suggesting that $2.5 billion is absolutely justified in these renovations, which we all know is a complete joke. And the second thing is, why do you need blast windows? And why do you need to make sure that the building cannot collapse all at one time? I mean, that sounds like maybe a federal building in California where they experience earthquakes. I could see that. Or maybe there's been a history of the Fed chair building being attacked. I mean, I'm not seeing why that is a justifiable expense, but maybe I have it wrong. Now, here's the interesting clip. President Trump did meet with Jerome Powell in front of a camera, and I think you could tell it's tense. Take a look.
So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Our notes had it about 3.1 as well.
3.1.
3.2. This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work. So,
it's not new.
So we're going to take a look.
Okay, now before we get to what President Trump had to say, let me just give this message to you guys from today's sponsor, Chapter. As you know, if you are involved in getting Medicare or you're saving up to get...
Okay, let me go ahead and get past this commercial here.
And it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use. But no, we don't expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not under too much danger. So, any questions?
Mr. President, as a real estate developer, what would you do with a project manager who would be over budget?
Generally speaking, what would I do? I'd fire them.
Do you think, Mr. President, using colas to do that?
Well, I'm here just really with the chairman. He's showing us around, showing us the work. And so I don't want to get that. I don't want to be personal. I just would like to see it get finished. And in many ways, it's too bad it started. But it did start. And it's been under construction for a long time. It's going to be a real long time because it looks like it's got a long way to go.
Yes, sir.
So,
Mr. President, are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. But other than that, what can I tell you?
Yeah, so we've discussed this so many times already. The bottom line is, can Jerome Powell just lower the rates just temporarily? 3 months, please. Let the federal government refinance the debt or the interest on the debt at a lower rate. Allow the American people to get some good rates when it comes to their mortgages and credit cards and really loans in general for whatever they want to invest in. I mean, that sounds like a reasonable ask, in my opinion. But again, I'm not the Fed chair. I'm not an expert on what Jerome Powell's job truly is. And the bottom line is, I just look at the results. He was willing to cut rates last year with no hesitation. And now he's so hesitant. But again, he has his reasons. And some of them I do respect. I mean, the bottom line is the economy is doing great. So why does he need to lower rates again? I mean, that's his argument, of course, but that doesn't mean we have to agree with it. Now, let's go to our next story, because in some ways, Columbia University has bent the knee to President Trump and what he wanted, which is to crack down on anti-Semitism. And they've settled with the Trump administration for $200 million. Take a look.
Columbia University is now the first school in the nation to reach a negotiated settlement with the Trump administration over claims of anti-Semitism. As part of this agreement, and this was being negotiated for months, the university will pay more than $220 million over 3 years in penalties. In exchange, the Trump administration will unlock the hundreds of millions of dollars, even possibly $1 billion in scientific research funding that they had locked up to force Columbia to bend to demands. With this settlement, Columbia is not required to admit wrongdoing. The school saying this: the institution's leaders have recognized repeatedly that Jewish students and faculty have experienced painful, unacceptable incidents, and that reform was and is needed.
Now, when you think about this announcement, which is a win for the Trump administration, because this is a promise that the president made during his campaign, which was to do what? Crack down on anti-Semitism, particularly on these college campuses. You have to understand that the students themselves are totally against this. And that's why we see from Harvard how much they're willing to put up a fight, especially because not only do they have the money, but they have the status, the brand, and they're much more, I would say, valuable than Columbia University. So Harvard can take the punches from the administration. Columbia University cannot. That's the bottom line here, and ultimately why they had to settle this and move past this already. Now, here is the acting president on what she had to say.
I am confident in the agreement we struck. We worked again on every word. So I am confident it does not cross our lines that were essential to us. Of course, I'm aware of the atmosphere in which we, are and we're talking to the federal government and what other institutions are facing. It's a very complex moment for higher education. I respect every decision that every other institution is making and will make. I've had incredibly helpful, deep, thoughtful conversations with the leaders of other institutions. And I really think we are all facing many of the same issues. And I understand there may be different choices made, but this was the responsible path for Columbia. And I think it's a path that, again, is going to allow us to move on with the work we do so well.
So what is she saying there? What she is saying is that for Columbia University, it's bad for business to continue to fight President Trump. And I absolutely agree with that, because if I was running a business, I wouldn't want to be at war with the president of the United States. It doesn't even matter if I'm right. The problem is it's bad for business. And there's much more important work that these universities need to be focusing on, like the quality of education and preventing anti-Semitism on their campuses versus trying to fight the president on every little thing. And that's exactly what Harvard is continuing to do. The problem is Harvard, just like Columbia University, they're guilty at the claims that the president has made. They are guilty at anti-Semitism. They did not crack down on that. They let it fester and get out of control. and not to mention the racial discrimination that went on due to DEI in regards to Harvard University's enrollment numbers. We know that already. So this is the right play for Columbia University. Now, of course, CNN, they have their perception about what happened. Take a look here.
Look, I think the reason that they're paying the $200 million is that they don't want to lose billions in grants, because they don't want to lose the money that comes in from international students, like what Trump has done with Harvard, threatened to take away the visas of all of the international students coming to Harvard. I think they don't want to fight the way that Harvard is fighting back. So you say, the things that Trump has done to get them to bend the knee. In the case of CBS and Paramount, they need government approval for the sale and a merger. In the case of the law firms, he threatened not to allow any of their lawyers into federal buildings. In the case of the universities, he's taken away billions of grant money, to the point where there are scientists from American universities that are being recruited and leaving the country and now setting up shop in places like Europe and Asia and other places. And so that's what he's doing. He's using a very big stick and hitting people over the head with it. And there are people who are allowing themselves to be beat, and others who are standing up on principle, taking the risk.
What principle?
Yeah, see, the one thing that people on the left are missing when it comes to defending Harvard University is that Harvard University is guilty at anti-Semitism. That's been proven. It is a fact that has happened. So in that regard, what do you expect the Trump administration to do? He's not beating people over the head with a stick. He's holding them accountable. There's a significant difference. And if Harvard had did the right thing when it mattered most, maybe President Trump wouldn't have to do something like this. That's why it's interesting that it's Harvard and Columbia University and other universities, of course, that are dealing with this issue because they got caught up in it. Not every single university in our country is caught up in this. So that's the way that I see it. Now, what's more important is what Secretary McMahon had to say, because obviously she was a part of bringing this agreement home. And here's what she had to say about that.
This really started months ago. I met with then President Katrina Armstrong and then her successor, Claire Shipman, because we were talking about the anti-Semitism protests that had happened at Columbia, especially after October 7th. And it was evident. I mean, it was covered broadly in mainstream media. You can't have students that are locked into a library on campus with other students pounding on the windows outside, yelling, "Death to Israel, death to Jews," and having incidents on campus that are just unsafe. Students did not feel safe on campus. And both of those presidents, Claire is still there now, recognized that there was a problem. They wanted to make sure that it didn't happen. We were very strong in our condemnation of these anti-Semitism acts that had taken place on campus. The fines were stiff. $200 million is a stiff fine. But clearly, we're going to see action at Columbia, and I'm really pleased that we were able to come to this agreement, because I think the students there that are on campus now can feel safe. Students and faculty know that they're going to be evaluated on merit. Hiring programs, are being changed. This agreement also encompasses not only Title VI, but Title IX and other incidents to make sure that there's fairness across campus for all students.
So the bottom line to this update is that President Trump, again, has kept the promise, which is a positive. Secondly, students and faculty know that something has been done for the anti-Semitism that they were subjected to. Even if you're not someone who's Jewish, but you were there on the campus and your quality of education was impacted by what went on, you feel like something's actually being done finally. All right, so now we go to our next update, and that is about the Epstein files. The House Oversight Subcommittee has subpoenaed the Department of Justice to hand over the Epstein files to Congress. And I guess this begs the question, are they really going to do it? And what are the exact files they're going to hand over? Let's hear more on that now.
So the Justice Department has not commented publicly on how they will respond to this subpoena. Historically, the Justice Department does what the Justice Department wants to do, and rarely does it want to cooperate with Capitol Hill, with lawmakers. Look, they might be able to craft something here where they could provide some level of transparency, try to pass some of this off to lawmakers. But I think what this subpoena reminds people, or should remind people, is that the bulk of the evidence that has not been seen by the public, it is within the power of the Attorney General of the United States to release that. Now, she has laid out a memo explaining why she is not releasing that, saying that much of it is redacted. She needs to continue to protect victims and some of the accused, depending on what is in there, and that there just wasn't enough evidence that her investigators found to file another case or additional charges. Now, after she released that memo, that's what kicked off really this controversy. They've gone and asked for grand jury transcripts to be released. That so far has not been successful. We're waiting to hear from a judge in New York, but that's just a tiny portion of the evidence. And the focus will continue to be, I think, from Capitol Hill, mostly because a lot of constituents are calling about this larger trove of evidence. It's within the power of the Attorney General. It is unclear if she would respond to a subpoena and share any of this with lawmakers.
Yeah. Okay, so there you have it, folks. And yes, okay. The Federal Reserve Act was signed Christmas Eve, 1913, on Jekyll Island. Okay? Yeah. What a coincidence that something like that would be signed on Jekyll Island. All right, but at any rate, yeah, and I believe that, Trump, I don't want to say one way or other, but they have, I think it has been approved by the administration that, okay, we'll release the transcripts of the trial. Okay? I don't know what documents they have. I don't have privy to that. The Democrats have been in charge for the past 4 years. Who knows if there are any other documents that has anything other than just blacked out pages. I don't know. But at least they said, okay, well, let's release the transcripts then. You can see, what the situation was for Ghislaine Maxwell, and I guess for the when they indicted Epstein in the grand jury transcripts. I don't know. But it's up to a judge now, okay? And, the separation of powers, the administration can request it. If the judge doesn't release it, then it's something that'll have to go to the Supreme Court, and who knows. But at any rate, let me show you this video does come from Devory Darkins. I am subscribed to the channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here. And again, let me remind you that these 4 videos that I shared with you are videos that have come directly from the producer and their channels. I don't get any commissions or royalties for sharing this information out, but I do like to put together a nice little package of no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth, and share that out with you. Okay, let's check on the chat. And Debbie BS and I have been chatting back and forth, and yeah, she thought of me every time she heard information about that the J. Powell building stuff. It's amazing. The Federal Reserve is an independent organization. Okay, it's a corporation, kind of like Federal Express. Federal Express doesn't have ties with the federal government. The only ties with the federal government that the Federal Reserve has is they control the money supply. Congress needs money. They contact the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve tells the Treasury to print however many billions of dollars, and then the Federal Reserve loans that money to the federal government and charges them interest at the rate of about $1 trillion a year at this point. Okay, let me put these comments into these chats into a comment here and save that, so this information will be permanent with the video, because the comments will just kind of evaporate away when the live chat is over. So let me do a quick refresh on this. And I've had 135 people watch this video so far. I've got 18 people watching when the live chat is, and I've got 5 thumbs up. So if I could get 13 of you to slide down here and give me a thumbs up, that would be fantastic. Okay, so getting back here to the main page of Murtech.com, these 4 videos that I shared with you are videos that I posted at Murtech.com, and the link to Murtech.com is in the description box below. Okay, here's the video from Devory Darkins that I shared with you. Okay, and I shared a video, one of my extras today with Chicks on the Right. Great information. Right down here is from Robert Gouveia. Right there's the video I shared with you. But I have over 55 videos here at Murtech.com. No nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. This is your one-stop shop, okay, for information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media. Don't have time to share all this with you, but I will have a daily news wrap-up coming up here about 9:30. So go ahead and take a break, grab a donut, cup of coffee, sandwich, soft drink, and meet me back here about 9:30, and we'll start our daily news wrap-up of information that's come out all day long. I think I have over 70 videos in my playlist at this point in time. I'm going to go back and update that, set up my video, and as I said, meet you back here at 9:30. So I do want to thank you for your time. Hopefully I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.